As he said, I'm Ray Johnson, and I know you guys are wondering what this is. So, this past summer, I helped another ship, 214 I believe. I have dyslexia, so that might not be right. And I, as an adult mate, it was my first real trip since having the status of that, in addition to Quartermaster, where I could lead youth, things of that sort. So I felt responsible. And my parents got me this, which is pretty accurate, I have to say, and there's some calligraphy, so, you know, artistic side. But it says, a day without sailing probably won't kill me, but why bother? You know, like, why risk it? And I have that sentiment completely. When I was getting closer to Quartermaster to explain this, and I was still in Able, and in Quartermaster, kind of like probably for Eagle Scouts, you guys have to instruct at a certain point because you're used to the adult instructing you. So my dad, especially during COVID, we had to do a lot of things virtually, and this, you know, blue pops on video. I would learn different knots on here. So I was going to pass this around to you youth, impromptu test if you will. Show me what your favorite knot is and then say why. You're right there, I'm sorry. You can take any one of the ropes and untie it in any way you feel fit. And there's multiple, so you can pass them down the line and like share the space of it. And while he's doing that, I suppose I'll talk about, I'm just kidding, I don't mean anything else out here. Psych! One of my favorite professors, he taught me when I was still a freshman. Gosh, a freshman. Anyways, right? He gave me this. He was one of my absolute insightful communication teachers that really helped me start to get to the point where I am today, feeling competent around the camera. And he's actually a Scoutmaster. And I was surprised to learn that, because he said, oh yeah, I'm just taking time off of school 1 week because I'm a Scoutmaster and I'm leading a troop. And I'm like, just said that so casually as if I was supposed to know already, all right? But he gave me this, and it means a lot. And granted, I've just glanced through it to see like the quality of the graphics and all that, the drawing. But they are quite accurate, obviously, maybe outdated, but I thought it was really sweet of him. I also, oh, did you do it? Or no? It's okay, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, I don't mean to.
No, put him on the spot.
I recently, this past summer, through ASC, I was going to say ASA, but it's kind of the same thing, because this is a certification book. Got my wheel boat license, and I am that much closer for my personal goal to get an international captain's license, because I want to interview people from literally anywhere around the world on my own boat. Be like one of those cool couples that's on a sailboat, be like, hey, this is my channel on YouTube, that kind of vibe, but to interview people at any marina. So I have a couple more trinkets. So I go, as the kids say, to a very bougie college.
No kidding.
All of the parents joke it's the Disney of colleges, and it most certainly is. It's astounding. I jokingly had on my Snapchat private story, was counting all the fountains, and before one of the newest installments that he's had, the arena for basketball and also a fancy restaurant and hotel, which that's out of college. About 20 fountains. He has some kind of weird association with fountains where he just needs them everywhere. But they have this thing where once you graduate, you get a brick with your name on it. Well, my parents also decided, in addition to that brick, this is the miniature version, obviously, couldn't lug in the original, commemorating the fact that I have a Quartermaster award, and I put Sailing Life, you know, because they're like, what's that? And I don't blame them. And then, and y'all can look at the, I know you're not going to break it, it's a brick. And speaking of not breaking things, here's a shell that I was going to say late Commodore, but she's not, she's living.
Yeah,
Jane Tallis.
She still is alive, yeah.
Yeah, I realized the phrasing was really off. She gave this to me when we went to the Bahamas for the only one, high adventure sailing. And it was the first time since traveling with my parents, because they used to have a different job that allowed them to go around the world. I had kind of taken a hiatus, if you will, as I got older and more expensive, traveling with my parents. So it was nice to finally go back on the water to a really exotic place. And I gotta tell you, I can never look at North Carolinian water the same since I saw literally the bottom of the seafloor through that immaculately clear water. No offense, I love North Carolina, born and raised, but it's just not the same since that experience. So after all of that and my TED Talk, do you guys have any questions for me? Not everyone at once. Yes.
What was your favorite part about being a scout?
My favorite part. Don't do that to me. It's like asking me my favorite movie.
Hard to pick one, huh?
Honestly, I'd say trip-wise, one of the ones that had the most impact on me, other than like I mentioned, Bahamas, and when I went to sail on a 100-foot plus schooner in Maine for 2 weeks, because I can only shower once, so I definitely remember that properly. I'm like, I love this, but I am a girl that loves hygiene, so. But the very first camping trip and outing I went with my ship, it made such an impact on me. Hey, good job! That's really good. Look at that bowler. Or no, that was
That's a square knot.
square knot. Yeah, I was about to say like.
Why
a
is it your
reefing.
favorite?
Yeah, why?
Because it's the easiest knot to tie.
Facts. I get that. That's always a great answer. It's the easiest and the fastest. What can I say? But definitely that trip, because it was my first initial meeting with them. And I'm so used to being an only child of just kind of trying to, if you will, assimilate myself into a surrounding. So I was kind of a little bit apprehensive. They all knew each other really well, were really close-knit. So I'm like, I'm just this outsider kind of skirting in at 18, and they've started, most of them, since 14 or 15. So it was an odd dynamic at first for me, admittedly, but they made me feel right at ease, very hospitable, adults and youth across the board, and it gave me this deep down feeling that I knew I was supposed to be there. So I have to say, when I went to Carr Lake for 5 days. And I know it's very long, I'm sorry. All right, another question?
So what were your leadership positions in the ship?
So I actually never took over as bosun because I knew with me being one of the older youth, I should let one of the young, quote unquote, to me, younger ones have a chance at that. I felt that would be strategically the best idea, and it worked out because a lot of them even gained more confidence taking on the role, realizing the huge responsibility it can be, and learning how to delegate so they're not freaking out and overwhelmed all the time, which happens in any part of life. I'm sure you adults can attest to that. A lot of head nods I see. But I was mostly the media specialist, which makes sense, communications major, but I loved that role because I liked experimenting with different shots, and whether it's promoting my ship for one of those end of the year, let's reflect on life type things. It was really cool playing with light, especially how it reflects off water, that kind of stuff. And now I can actually take someone under my wing. I jokingly have told Matthew this, who used to be our bosun. It's now Patrick. But yeah, because we had an election. It's every 6 months for us.
Do you prefer sailing boats or motorboats?
If you were to ask Mr. Banning, Jeff Banning right now, he would absolutely 1,000% say sailboats because motorboats are annoying. But for me personally, I grew up with motorboats because of my uncle in Georgia. He had a lake house, still does, but he revamped that house of it recently because, my aunt is very persuasive. But yeah, that was a fun experience, learning kind of maneuvering with that and jet skis and all that, getting a handle for those type of powered vessels, so it was a lot more seamless with dealing with a motor on the back of a sailboat. Definitely now though, given that experience, I would definitely say hands down sailing, because you can go even faster than a motorboat sometimes because they have fixed speeds, but sailboat can overtake, and it sounds so cool to say that. Anything else? If not, it's completely fine.
What's the largest boat you built?
Probably that schooner, because it was 134 or 6, and it had been around since the 70s. So it was one of those ships where you could tell, despite how it's obviously has an age look to it, they definitely took great care of it, especially because it was used to teach professional crew as well as students who were interested to then the next season become a permanent fixture of that ship. Gorgeous sights too, visiting the islands. Amazing.
So speaking to a room of teenagers that are considering joining the ship, what would be your best advice to those individuals considering?
Oh yeah. You know what's funny about that question?
Do I
Whenever
answer
I'm interviewing people, no, you're fine. I'm not calling you out, believe me. Quite the opposite. I usually interview people and I always ask them a question along that line of like, you know, a time in your life affected you the most, advice. So I appreciate that question. I would have to say, don't ever take on too much. There's a reason that you're a leader and not doing everything. There's a reason you have a team and you need to utilize them. Because I was always the person, I kind of still am, in every group project that does the most work. And I would let other people kind of quote unquote bullying me into, because I have a nice soft-spoken personality, to take advantage of that. So you can be nice, but you can also be firm and tactful and say, there's a reason all of us are here, so we all have a role, they're all vital, even if it may not seem like it at first.
Anything else? Well, thanks for coming.
Well, of course, it's a pleasure.